Welcome to Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. I'm your host, Jill Jardine, Master's in Counseling Psychology, longtime astrologer, psychic healer, and yogi. In this episode, my guest is Dr. Raymond Keller, author and time traveler. Dr. Keller is also known as Cosmic Ray and has much to share in this episode about Venus, the planet, and much more. So stay tuned. Welcome to Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. In this episode, my guest is Dr. Raymond Keller, also known as Cosmic Ray. Dr. Keller is an author and time traveler, and in the last years has come out with his famous Venus Rising book series. This series has 10 books. Cosmic Ray has lived and worked in 44 different countries and has been writing about UFOs and paranormal activity since 1967. In 2011, Dr. Raymond completed his doctoral degree in history at West Virginia University. In 2012 through 2013, Dr. Ray worked at an international school in Wuxi, China, and encountered his old friend, Lady Orda. She took him to Venus, where he lived for 2.5 months. There, he met the Ascended Master El Moira, viewed the Akashic Records, and traveled back in time to a 1954 Giant Rock, California spacecraft convention via a biolocation signal. He crashed in 1954 due to radiation experiments, of this time interfering with the tachyon drive of his Nimbus transportation device. In 2014, Dr. Ray began to write Venus Rising, a concise history of the second planet. In 2015, he experienced an out-of-body experience on the operating table for open heart surgery at the Virginia Hospital in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, whence his higher self offered him an opportunity to return to Earth and finish his Venus books. Raymond accepted this proposition. Presently, Dr. Ray travels the world sharing his amazing experiences about his 10-week visit to Venus in 2012 through 2013. He also shares his vast metaphysical knowledge through his public appearances. He has written a new gospel called the Gospel of Thomas, which also includes the youth gospel of Jesus Christ, the Acts of Thomas, and the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. These revelations were translated from the Nag Hammadi library. This supernatural Morning Star version is given as a gift from the Ministry of Angels through their chosen messenger, Dr. Raymond Keller. It is available now in the book section on his website and Amazon. Dr. Raymond A. Keller, a.k.a. Cosmic Ray, a veteran and retired history professor, is the international awards-winning author of the Venus Rising series of books, 7 to date and fully illustrated. Dr. Books explore many facets of the conditions and life on Venus in many dimensions from a perspective of conspiracies, history, theosophy, UFOlogy, and current events, especially space research. Dr. Keller was a member of the pioneering Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, APRO, an associate of the late Dr. Leo Sprinkle of the University of Wyoming at Laramie, a scientific consultant of that research group who wrote the introduction to Dr. Keller's first book in the series, Venus Rising, A Concise History of the Second Planet. Some of his other books are The Vast Venus Conspiracy, Lady Columba, Venus Revelations, Cosmic Ray's excellent Venus Adventure, The Final Countdown, Rockets to Venus, Flying Saucers from Venus They Come, and Flying Saucers Venus Legacy, as well as the Gospels of Thomas and Mary Magdalene. Dr. Keller has lived and worked in 44 different countries and has been writing about UFOs and paranormal activity since 1967. He was the founder and director of the Outer Space International Research and Investigation Society, OSIRIS, of Hillmar, California, as well as the publisher and co-editor of the New Millennial Star, a monthly pre-internet tabloid newspaper with a circulation of 7,500 copies. It's my honor and pleasure to welcome my guest to today's episode, Dr. Raymond Keller. Welcome, Dr. Ray.
Thank you, Jill. It's a pleasure to be here on the program with you.
It's a pleasure to have you today, of all days, Earth Day, and we're going to talk about the sister planet Venus quite a bit. But first of all, I'd like to hear about your current work that you're doing. And we know that you've written some books on Venus and you've had experiences there. So whatever you feel you want to share with my listeners to illuminate their intellect about Venus, we're welcoming to hear it.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Jill. It's my life mission to bring to the light of the world the information about our brothers and sisters of Venus and other planets that are kindly disposed to our world. And I've written 7 books in the Venus Rising series, beginning with the first one, Venus Rising: A Concise History of the Second Planet, in 2015. That was published. And then I've also written The Real Resident Aliens. That just came out. And it's based on watching the science fiction show starring John Tudyk, called Resident Alien. And then it dawned on me that here I'm writing these books about contacts with Venusians and other ETs. They're living right here among us, and they have been since the beginning of recorded history. And I need to write a book about their presence here on Earth. After all, the Bible talks about visitors from beyond our world. The Bible refers to them as angels, of course, and it says in Hebrews chapter 13, verse 2, that we should always be kind to one another, for know ye not that ye entertain angels unawares. Then I have some other books that I've written with Fred Saluga. He's the Eastern States Director of the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON. And we wrote one book called West Virginia, Paranormal Gateway, another which has all the Sister Thedra story and all her revelations, because she's originally from West Virginia. Another one called Pennsylvania UFO Portal, which goes all the way back to the Philadelphia experiment and from beyond, with all fully illustrated. And then one that will be coming out next month is called Pennsylvania in the Paranormal Vortex.
Wow. Amazing work. And I think that there's probably so much information you share in those books. So we would urge your listeners and my listeners here to go on to your website, headlinebooks.com, and order any from any of your series. But the big question at this point, I think...
They're also available on Amazon.
Of course, Amazon. Sometimes the easiest place to get anything for people. The pressing question at this time on planet Earth is, I think everybody wants to know, so what did the Galactics, the Venusians, and these higher consciousness benevolent beings have to say about what's happening on our planet right now? Can they give us any insight, any encouragement? People are really seem very desperate for messages from the higher realms of the intellect, the luminous spheres, as far as what's happening.
Well, since the late 1940s and early 1950s, with the atomic testing and development of rocket technology and delivery systems for weapons of mass destruction, the presence of extraterrestrials on the Earth has been significantly augmented. And lately, with all the tension in the Middle East and Russia and the Ukraine and everything, the doomsday clock at the University of Chicago has been pushed up a few minutes.
Wow.
To a few minutes to midnight. And then, this being Earth Day, of course, they're concerned about the damage that we're doing to our own planet. So, whereas once upon a time there were maybe a few thousand, now it's in the tens of thousands, the ETs that are here among us. And,
which is encouraging. Can they mitigate? Can they do things that can shift, or are they more in shifting the consciousness of humans? I mean, how much is there a law of non-interference with the Earth?
Well, yes, Jill. They work behind the scenes, and they have since the 1940s. They began to emit green fireballs, these probes from the flying saucers over nuclear and atomic facilities in the United States and then the Soviet Union and China and other countries, neutralizing radiation.
Oh.
So I would say if they didn't do that, maybe today we'd be a much more mutated species. So that was their outright activities on the Earth's material plane. And of course, they've been working behind the scenes to raise consciousness. I would say that they've been doing a good job of it, because in 2021, right before the 21st of June and the first revelations in Congress about the disclosure about the real physical or objects visiting our planet, with the Navy pilots and so forth, a poll was taken that showed 85% believe that the UFOs are some kind of extraterrestrial or interdimensional conveyance. And not only that, but 15% of Americans believe that they have had contact with extraterrestrial or ultradimensional entities, either on the material plane, psychic or astral plane, and like spectral phenomena and that. So when the official disclosure finally comes, it's going to be more or less just an afterthought, because so many millions of a population of 300 million, 15% would translate to 45 million Americans having contact and intimate knowledge of our celestial brothers and sisters. So it's going to be really unnecessary, because the personal revelations far exceeds any official statement.
Right. And what is your theory on why they've kept from disclosure, or kept this a secret for so long? Is it lose power, or it would empower people more, or it would disempower the powers that be? What is your theory on why there hasn't been disclosure, when so many people, including myself, I had an encounter in Sedona. It was really kind of cool. And other times too, but it's like, why is it still in at this time being hidden or kept secret?
Oh, well, Evelyn Smith, she was a famous science and science fiction writer back in the 1950s, and she always attended the interplanetary spacecraft conventions at Giant Rock at Landers in California. She wrote a book about the Venusians, and in that book she said that an extraterrestrial presence would not, the knowledge of it would not be good, because if the Venusians or some other ETs had to come down and take charge, it would be robbing the people of Earth of their own autonomy, and sometimes even a benevolent dictatorship is resented. And in the book, the people of Earth rise up, even though the Venusians had come down and created a paradise here on Earth. So they want us to develop our own unique systems for the Earth, and to maintain our own sovereignty and autonomy. In other words, they're not here to be glorified babysitters. We need to come into our own to one day join in the Galactic Confederation, which consists of 602 planets already in 51 solar systems. So when we're ready, and we achieve at least a parity of our spiritual maturity with our technology, then we'll certainly be welcome.
So we could basically say Earth is pretty late to the cosmic party.
Right. But there are some worlds that are even further behind us. And each solar system has, a tardy developer, or what would you yeah, a late bloomer. And for our solar system, unfortunately, uh, we're living on it. So we're incarnated here. So hopefully this is our last stop, our last incarnation before we move on to greener pastures.
That's right. So before we get into the Venusian material and what they may have their input into what's happening here on Earth, first of all, I think that a lot of the UFOs or the ETs are kind of keeping things in quarantine too, right? To keep so that the nuclear explosions, things don't leak out into the solar system or galaxy. That's my understanding, that they're kind of mitigating or keeping it from spewing out into other parts of the galactic zones. Is that true?
Yes, that's true, Joe. All the northern polar region of all the planets are connected with what here on Earth we might call a rainbow bridge.
Oh.
But you'll notice that all the different planets have anomalies at their north polar regions, and this is because this flows through the solar stream, and radiation particles would be passed on to the other planets through that stream. So they're obviously concerned about that contamination.
Interesting. That makes total sense. The other question I have for you is, where in the United States or where on the planet, let's widen the perspective, are more UFO sightings or more activity, more extraterrestrial activity? Where, I mean, you wrote those books about Pennsylvania and West Virginia, so there must be a lot going on there. But what, in your experience, are let's call it the busy centers, the active parts? And maybe it changes depending on what's going on the planet at any given time.
Yes, it does. It does change quite a bit. Western Pennsylvania and Ohio tend to be a focus of a lot of activity because when you look at the Great Lakes from outer space, it looks like the heart of the world, and it's of course the largest body of water on the planet. Is the Great Lakes, and UFOs are seen quite frequently coming in and out of Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, Huron, Superior, and then the other focal point would be out in California. I don't know if it's because California has more population, so more people are seeing UFOs, but California, ever since the late 40s and 50s, has been the center not only of UFO sightings, but also of the contactees, the people who are in contact with the extraterrestrials or ultradimensionals.
Interesting. So they're probably also attracted to where ley lines meet, or what we would call vortex centers in the United States and around the world, such as Shasta, Sedona, Glastonbury, England, and the various Earth vortexes. Would that be true? That they may have some kind of resonance with the Earth frequencies there, or that those are broadcasting or transmitting areas anyway? What's your take on all of that?
Well, in 2017, I published a book, Cosmic Ray's Excellent Venus Adventure, and in that book, I explored the city of Paradise in California with a Native American, Chrisana Duran, who worked with Ida Cannonberg. She was a contactee also, exploring contacts, and one of the first understanding units from Daniel Fry that was up in Paradise, and the connections with the Venusians, a visit of various contactees that they made traveling to Paradise in the late 40s and early 50s. Before there was ever even a paved road up there. They had to go from Chico and then go 17 miles northeast up a rugged dirt road through the Butte. But they held sky watches at various people's homes. They had a flying saucer club and everything, and we were able to capture all this information, and we published it and put it in that book. 2 years before the whole town burnt down with the big fire. But we have it in the book, all the information about UFOs, flying saucers, contactees, and everything associated with the city of Paradise. 2 years published before it was all destroyed.
Wow. This is amazing. We're going to keep the conversation going. We'll take a little break here. For my listeners, if you want to get in contact with Dr. Keller, his email is rkeller1, rkeller1 at mix.wvu, that's V as in Victor, u.edu. And check out his books on Amazon and Headline Books. We'll be right back. Are you interested in natural health and regenerative healing? Do you want to work with vibration to heal your body? Check out this patented wearable light technology at www.lifewave.com/JillJar. LifeWave is a company that has patches that you wear, so it's not transdermal, you're not taking anything in, and what these patches do, they activate your body's light. It's called biomodulation, and that light is activated, your body starts producing GHK, copper peptides, which in turn activates stem cell production. That's right. So wearing these patches will regenerate your body, reflects your body's light back into your tissues, and you become more vital, energized, reduce pain, inflammation, improvement of sleep, increased strength are all possibilities. Other benefits could be hair quality, rapid wound healing, mental clarity, increased joy and stamina, your skin appearance and wrinkles could go away. Again, all probable and possible depending on your chemistry. Others have enjoyed increased sports performance and recovery and restored muscle or skeletal conditions. Check it out at lifewave.com/JillJar and order yours today. Welcome back. My guest is Dr. Raymond Keller, UFOologist, author of many books, and quite the expert on paranormal activity, ETs. Dr. Ray is going to talk about how he got into all of this. What was your life path that brought you down this journey, Dr. Ray?
Well, I'd always been interested in UFOs and everything outer space. When I was growing up in high school in Bedford, Ohio, I went out with the Boy Scouts on a camping trip to Walton Hills. And on the way back, there was a flying saucer hovering over a railroad trestle. And I contacted the Cleveland Ufology Project and spoke with Earl J. Neff, the director. He used to be one of the Untouchables. He was a sketch artist for Elliot Ness.
Wow.
But he was the director liaison with NICAP and APRO and director of the Cleveland Ufology Project. So I started attending meetings and writing a column for the Bedford Times Register, and the group decided to fund myself and a friend to publish a flying saucer magazine for young people called the Flying Saucer Report. And through that, I exchanged publications with all the leading ufologists of the world, Gabriel Green and Gray Barker and Jean Duplantier in Canada and many others, and collected a massive file of information and that I still have. I have so much stuff, I have to keep it in a climate-controlled storage facility and to keep track of it and catalog everything. But I've been doing that since the 1960s, and the National Enquirer wrote an article about me in the Flying Saucer Report, and boosted the circulation even more and made international contacts in Australia, British Isles and France, all over the world, Yugoslavia. And so it's been a real joy because eventually I got to meet many of these ufologists in the pioneering days of ufology. I especially became enamored with the contactees. It didn't make sense to me. Back then, there were two large groups in the United States. There was Aerial Phenomena Research Organization in Arizona, and then in Washington, D.C. is the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena. That was headed by a former Marine Corps pilot, Major Donald E. Kehoe, and he had written articles in the early age of flying saucers in True magazine, and then some books about flying saucers from outer space and so forth. But he just believed that they were doing only a surveillance of the Earth. But it didn't make any sense to me, whereas Coral and Jim Lorenzen in the APRO group were saying that, if just think about it, if we traveled across the vast distances of outer space to visit some other planet and we found out that it was inhabited, don't you think we'd try to land and talk to somebody?
Right.
So I thought, these books didn't seem to be far-fetched when I read about Howard Menger and George Adamski and Orfeo Angelucci and these other ones. I said, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. And that they would be on the nearby planets. If they didn't originate there, then they obviously came there from some other star system or maybe even another dimension, and they would want to have contacts on the Earth and do all they could to find out information about us.
So they're data collecting about us, basically.
Oh yes, I believe that they're doing longitudinal studies with some people. Maybe they've identified persons that have been, reincarnated from their home planets on this planet, and I really believe, Jill, that people like ourselves that are interested in UFOs and paranormal phenomena, metaphysical subjects, it's because we're getting prepared because in our next incarnation, or maybe in this one, we're going to be lifted up to go to these other planets.
Right. And maybe we actually came from there and we came to kind of help out and incarnated in human form at different times during different times and go back and forth between these other planetary realms during incarnations. I mean, Edgar Cayce alluded to that in some of his readings, that people...
Oh yes. And even Paramahansa Yogananda in his autobiography of a yogi talks about this very same subject.
Yes, and as a student of the Vedic texts and mantras myself, there is a lot of reference to the beings that came from space. And a lot of the early drawings show them in spacecraft type of things. As with the Mayans,
yes, even the giant space platforms in India, they call them the Vimanas, and all societies on Earth and cultures have these legends that go back to even prehistory with the arrival of extraterrestrials.
Right. And so then what about the scientific thing that we see, where we hear about that they come and they're doing these kind of invasive experiments on humans? Is there any truth to that?
Well, I think there might be. Of course, Paul Hellyer, who was the defense minister of Canada during the Pearson administration in the early 1960s, and so he was a coordinator with NATO, and he said that there's at least 80 species of extraterrestrials on Earth, and most of them have good intentions toward us, but there's a few elementos sospechosos out there.
Right.
So there's a few, but I believe that some of the so-called abductions may be nothing more than longitudinal studies done on certain humans that they have an interest in. Just like when we want to study the migration patterns of different creatures here on Earth, like ducks or something, we'll tag them with an electronic beacon so we could find out more about them. And I know that the Venusians, for example, have these what did George Adamski called them, registered discs. They're like little tiny drones, and they can follow people that they're interested in, kind of be like a fly on the wall to observe what's going on.
Wow, amazing.
For a security measure.
Speaking of the Venusians and Venus, let's segue to your time there in 2012, 2013, and what you learned when you were living on Venus.
Well, I learned that Venus is in multiple dimensions.
Yes.
And there's at least four Venuses. And I also learned that this is not uncommon with all the other planets. And so we know that there's at least 12 physical planets in our solar system, but there's 48 others that are populating zones that exist outside our own space-time continuum, but they're in our solar system.
Interesting. And they're not just asteroids, they're actually planets?
Yes, there's actually planets. I have a good friend, Omnek Onek, and she comes from one of the astral planes of the planet Venus.
Wow. And so when you had your experience, so Venus is multidimensional, but I also feel like Earth is, we're having a multidimensional split if we haven't already, and maybe there's more than one Earth. I mean, I definitely feel that is going on, that there may be another split happening, thus all the things happening on the planet right now. But to get back to Venus, yes, would love to hear what you experienced when you were there.
Oh, yes. Before I do that, I have to affirm what you just said, because you'll notice that whenever there's a big spike in UFO activity in a certain area,
yes,
there's also an equivalent increase in other types of paranormal phenomena, spectral apparitions, Bigfoot, cryptids, all over the place, because there's like a dimensional leak,
yes,
where the veil is thinnest, and so you're going to see other kinds of phenomena. So this is true on Venus as well. So it's much easier for higher dimensional beings to come down on Venus and visit in the physical dimension than it is for those in the physical dimension to go up into the higher ones.
That makes sense. Yes. So
just like on Earth, you have various spiritual masters that can do it,
right.
But for the average Venusian on the physical plane of existence, which is largely underground on Venus, it's much harder to do that.
Interesting. Speaking of spiritual masters, there is a connection with Sanat Kumara of the, who was the ascended master who they spoke of in the Theosophical Society, and El Moira to Venus. Could you speak to that, Dr. Ray?
Oh, yes. Well, the Kumaras were four brothers that were coming here from the Tau Ceti system about 24.5 million years ago with another contingent in space arcs, and they colonized this planet. And so they've been here in their higher ascended astral bodies much throughout this whole time, in various incarnations as avatars or teachers here on the earth. Some well known, and others not so well known. And then El Moria is actually the good thief that was on the cross next to Jesus,
Oh, yeah.
and because of his kind words to Jesus at that time, it was appropriate to talk about it now because it's just after Easter. But his kind words merited his immediate entrance into paradise with Jesus. And as we know, in the book of Revelation, in chapter 22, verse 16, Jesus identifies with the planet Venus. He said, "I am of the bright and morning star, the root and offspring of David." So we know that El Moria is actually the region of Venus.
Interesting. This is great information. And now, as we're kind of winding down our time together, I would love to hear any messages that some of the masters, such as El Moira, Sanat Kumara, and the Venusians, they are Venusians, but what they may have for us here on Earth at this time, for those who want to listen to their good counsel, what would they share with us, Dr. Ray?
Well, as I had mentioned previously, Jill, they're waiting uh, and working behind the scenes, helping us where they can, sending teachers among us, contacting contacting those who can help in their mission. For example, Omnek Onek is the ambassador from Venus. I'm the Venus historian, and there are countless others here on Earth. But their message to humanity is threefold. First, they want us to develop a sense of unity and a friendship among all the peoples of Earth, regardless of their race, creed, color, uh, and so forth. And and moreover, that will help us to understand that we have brothers and sisters on the other planets. That we are part of a greater galactic community,
Yes.
to prepare us for one day when the whole planet will transition into becoming the next planetary member of that confederation. And it's actually a confederation and not a federation, because there's so many different types of beings out there in space. Helena Blavatsky, the Theosophical Society, said the whole immensity of space is filled with intelligences. So these encompass many different forms, not just the human. So don't let it be a surprise, too much of a surprise, when you see some of the different beings that are out there. Then the second thing is they want us to they want us to pursue knowledge that leads to peace and understanding, and fulfilling the first objective: studying comparative religions, science, history, and looking for the commonalities, so that that when we learn, that we listen to our neighbors, to teachers, and then uh, we try to empathize, come to agreement where we can, and then proceed in a peaceful and progressive direction. And then lastly is to help us as humankind to realize that we're more powerful than we really think we are. We hear about like the yogis and masters of the Far East and so forth, that they have clairvoyance, clairaudience, bilocation.
We call them
Uh,
city powers, SIDDHIS, cities. Yes.
yes, they have all these amazing powers. There's about 22 of them, actually. That all the people in the Confederation have these powers developed to a high degree, and we on Earth we rely mostly on our five physical uh, senses, and so in order to be among equals in this galactic confederation, they want to help us to develop those powers that are that are inside of each of us. And so that's why they're here. That's why they have these messages. That's why they reach out to people to help them bring everybody else along. So you and I and all of our listeners out there, unlike the majority of the population, we're honed into this activation signal because we manifest an interest in this thing. So we're the ones that are going to be the vanguard. They're going to contact us before they contact these other people.
Right. They want people who listen, who can work with them. So anyway, Dr. Ray, this has been an amazing interview. You have shared so much inspiring information about the Venusians, the Galactics, the Galactic Federation, and thank you for those words of encouragement as to why they are here. And hopefully this interview with you and your information and your sharing of your wisdom accumulated over years of working with this energy and UFOs and the Galactics will inspire people and lift their consciousness so that we will evolve faster.
Yes, thank you, Jill. I really appreciate the opportunity. I don't have any sect or anything any cult or anything like that. I just have my Venus books for people that want to know, that inquiring minds that want to know.
Right. So everybody can check out Amazon and get those and headlinebooks.com.
Right. If they just go to Amazon and just type Keller Venus, they'll get access to all the information about these books, and they can order them. And if they want to see me in person, I'll be at Mount Shasta on the 27th of June, Friday, all the way through Wednesday, the 3rd of July. And they could contact Rob Potter at The Promise Revealed. That's his organization that's sponsoring my appearance there at Mount Shasta.
Well, what an opportunity to see Dr. Ray in person, Mount Shasta, this summer. Thank you so much for your time and energy today, Dr. Ray.
Oh, you're welcome, Jill. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a great time to book a reading. So check out my website, JillJardineAstrology.com/shop and pick the kind of reading or service you would like. I hope you enjoyed this episode featuring my guest, Dr. Ray Keller, talking about UFOs, Venus, the Venusians, and so much more. Definitely share this with all your friends. Remember to subscribe, download, and give us a 5 golden star review as we send this healing galactic energy through the quantum field.